What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Riding the Wave podcast with your host, MJ. And I have a very special guest for you, ladies and gentlemen. We have Monica Roman, correct?
Yes.
With 18 years of financial experience. So get out your pen, your pencils, your whiteboard, your calculator, because we're about to dive in to Business 101. Thank you, Monica, for coming on the podcast.
My pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
So let's introduce yourself to the audience.
So my name is Monica Flores Roman. I've been in business for 16 years in this industry, 18 years total in finance, and I'm in business with my husband. We have an 8-year-old daughter. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. All of us are entrepreneurs. My dad actually started in the industry, in business, and we'll get more into that, I'm sure.
Yes, we will.
But yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
So where's your family from originally?
My family's originally from Guadalajara, Jalisco. So I was born in Mexico, but we were babies when, we grew up here. And my dad came here to achieve that American dream. And he did it. He, had a couple of businesses that he ran successfully and taught all of us, to be entrepreneurs too.
What was your dad's first business?
His very first business, he started here as a gardener. So
really?
From scratch.
From scratch.
And like many people, you see a lot of people that started in industry, but he just had this special touch. We joke with him and we tell him he's got the Midas touch because anything he touched turned to gold. He started from a very simple, humble business of gardening and turned it into a successful 7-figure practice, which then fed other businesses that he ran, from real estate to cattle ranching. We have an agave farm, a tequila company, so lots of different things.
What's an agave farm?
Agave is
I killed it. I bombed that.
Agave is the plant that you grow to make tequila.
Oh, the cactus.
The cactus.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
got you.
It's called agave. Yeah.
So what was the relationship like growing up with your family, with your brothers, your mom, and your dad?
So we were a very close-knit family. We grew up here in Pasadena, California. But, my dad was one of 10 kids. So it was a huge family. He was the very first one to make the shift to come to the U.S. and to try to get a better life. But, it was a bbig family, and they were born in really a poor atmosphere, a lot of poverty. So he put himself out there. And, it's interesting because there's always like that one person in the family that goes for it. Everybody else stays in their comfort zone. And we saw my dad always, like, the sun was up, he was working, he was building his dreams, he was speaking greatness into our ear. But his family was a little bit different in terms of mindset. And, we'll talk about that as we get in here, but I really think that the success in business is 90% mindset and only 10% skill set. And that's what I think set him apart and why he did so well in business.
Wonderful. So where did you go to college?
I went to UC Riverside.
And then what was your major?
My major was political science, and I minored in English. So when we first started talking, I want you to tell that story that you told me when you were gonna venture. Was it when you were gonna go to college and right.
your uncle made that comment?
Yeah.
Can you kind of just tell the audience that story?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, like I said, my dad raised us to really think like entrepreneurs. He always used to say, in Spanish, he would say, the world is yours for the taking. So
you can say it in Spanish.
Yeah. So he would say, el mundo es de los audaces. Now, audaz in English is different because it's audacity, which is actually a negative connotation. But in Spanish, el mundo es de los audaces means like the world is for those who take it, who go for it, right? But his family lived a very scarcity mentality because they grew up in poverty. So I was the first one to go to college out of all of my cousins, and I had a lot of older cousins. And I got a full scholarship to go to a UC school, which was a huge deal for our family at the time. I know a lot of people have done it today. I'm not even first generation, I'm an immigrant. And so when I got accepted, my uncles kept telling my dad, don't let her go. Can you believe that? They were like, don't let her go. Why? Because she's just going to go off and get pregnant. And can you guys imagine that, the scarcity mentality, rather than saying, here's the first one in our family to go for it, to achieve a bigger goal, it was planting those seeds of no, she's just going to go off and get pregnant because apparently that's what women do. And
when they go to college, they go to college not to get educated, but to get pregnant.
Exactly. So, so that's how it started. And it was a shock. I think now I have all this life experience. So when I, kind of put it in a box and in retrospect, see what happened, it was a scarcity mentality. And, we talk in business about when we're training our agents in business about the crabs in a bucket mentality. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
So, when you look at fishermen, they throw crabs in a bucket and they don't put a top on it. Why? Because as soon as one of the crabs tries to make its way out of that, bucket, the rest of the crabs pull it down. So that's very similar to people in our life. I think when you're launching yourself in business, there's a lot of people that are going to bring you down. And unfortunately, sometimes it's going to be your own family, your own friends. And sometimes they're trying to protect you because they've lived a rough life. But other times they're threatened because you're growing and they're not. So that's something that you have to be aware of.
Do you still talk to your uncle, or did you kind of just after that?
Yeah, there was a big falling out after, not because of that, but because of other business issues that went sour, where my dad was actually, backstabbed by his own family in some areas. So there was a big falling out, and honestly, it was a blessing in disguise because we severed the ties with people who actually didn't see our best interest and, that sort of thing.
And that's an important factor at times in our lives where we do have to cut people out of our lives, and sometimes it is our family. Sometimes it is our uncles, our brothers, our sister, whatever it is, when they're not even embracing our success.
Right.
So well, you showed him, right? you showed him.
Yeah.
Did he go to your graduation ceremony?
He was invited and they did attend. And, it's funny because at that point they go, we always knew you could make it. But
right.
That wasn't the rhetoric when I first,
And what happened to his daughters?
So, again, here's the thing. So I don't want to say it in spite, because I think you live and you learn, and I don't judge anybody on their journey, but most of my cousins did get pregnant out of wedlock. And not only the girls, by the way, the guys too got their girlfriends pregnant. So it's weird because it's like what you perpetuate to the universe is what you get in return. And the universe doesn't discriminate between positivity and negativity. So if all you do is putting out there, instead of educating your daughters and saying, hey, this is what to look out for in relationships, or hey, this is what you should do, and positively encouraging them, you're not going to win with threatening people. If you ever get pregnant, you're going to be disowned by the family, right? I think culturally it's something that for our generation now, that we're parents, we go, okay, well, how can we learn from that and be better educators and supporters of our children today? Right?
No, you're 100% correct on that. Okay, so let's get to the business side. Now that we got a little brief introduction of who you are, Monica. So what caught your interest in owning a business?
So I think it was watching my dad. I think, you asked me earlier, why didn't I stick to the traditional route? I really actually was on the traditional route to go get a job, go get my degree, go get a job. So I got my degree in political science, minor in English. I worked for a year, and then I went to law school. And that was what I thought I wanted to do with my life. Fast forward, it's not what it looks like on Law & Order at all. It's very different.
It's not as exciting?
No, it's different atmosphere. So I decided it wasn't what I wanted to do, which also came with a slew of criticism because, again, you're the first one. So there's that pressure to go all the way. And it turns out I wanted to be like my dad. I saw the lifestyle that he provided us and the flexibility and all of that. And it was always in my blood, I think, to be in business.
Well, I don't think it's not only in your blood, but in your family's blood, because your siblings as well, because you said all of them are successful business owners. So that's awesome. And is your dad still present to this?
Oh, yeah. We just celebrated his 70th birthday on Saturday.
Well, Dad, you did an amazing job. So you answered my second question would be why didn't you go to that traditional route? Like what kind of?
Yeah, I could have, but I think for me I think you sort of interview your future, right? And I got the privilege of actually interning at the American Bar Association around the corner from the White House. So I went to DC with the UC system and I worked and interned in all these different places. I worked with appellate court judges, and I just saw my future, and some of those people weren't very happy, and so I thought to myself, okay, well, this is what it's going to look like for me, and is this the path I want to take? And at the time, I didn't know I wanted to be in business. At the time, it was like, in my eyes, a failure that I didn't follow through with law school, right? And that I quit. But that's where my journey began with entrepreneurship. That's where I think, God and the universe was looking out for me, because all the roadblocks that I thought were against me, I started to always go to business as my fallback.
Oh, okay, nice. So what was the first business that you owned?
So first was in the mortgage business. So that was my plan B after law school, right? I got into the mortgage business. I was in my early 20s. And it was a time, if you guys remember back in 05, 06, I'm dating myself now, but back in the day, everybody was doing really well in real estate and mortgage. I mean, it was like the refi boom, but banks were giving away properties. If you had a good FICO score, you got a house. So it was weird because you saw bartenders with 3 properties, and you're like, wait a minute, a gardener can report that they make, $50,000 a month, nobody cares, right? And it was stated income back then. So I got thrown into business in an environment where I was the new kid on the block, but I was like, this doesn't make sense to me. How is this happening? How are people, landing these properties? And then you started to see the refi boom crash, the 2007, 2008 crash of the market. So I started to transition out. At the time, the mortgage industry too was like very toxic in the sense that people were making big money, but you started to see true colors of people and how they managed their finances and all of that. So I knew I wanted to be in the financial world, but I didn't like that environment. And coincidentally, there was a movie that was played at our office. I don't know if you guys remember The Secret, right?
No.
The Secret, you got to watch it. It's all about the law of attraction, right?
Okay.
That's what The Secret is what you put out to the universe is what you get in return, about manifestation, which I've always believed, and I've been able to accomplish illogical stuff in my career because of that. And we watched that movie, which is all about attracting what you want out of your life. And I watched it and I said, well, I want something bigger in my life. And I had just closed a mortgage for a client, and you're going to laugh, but I called the wrong phone number. I was trying to order a cookie basket.
For
that client, I called the wrong number, and I dialed my mentor. Now, she was a top executive in the financial industry at the time. She was one of the leading female
So it was
advisors.
like a random number?
Number.
A random number that you called?
Yes. A random number.
Who's now your mentor?
She's now my mentor.
The universe, right?
I know, exactly.
That's
So
crazy.
we met, all of that, and she mentored me in business.
Okay, let's reenact this. So, ring. She picks up. It's not who
I'm like, hi, is this cookies by design? She's like, nope. Why are you ordering cookies? And I'm like, for a client. I'm like, what do you do? And that's what she goes, I do financial education. And I'm like, oh, well, I need that.
Oh, wow.
Wow,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
And then you guys just hit it off after that?
16 years later, this is my career.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know.
So random.
Definitely.
Wow, that's a story right there. And you guys are still in communication?
Still in communication, yep.
And I bet you that do you guys talk about this story often?
We do. I still have I get the chills thinking about it. Like, that's crazy. That started my trajectory in business,
That's amazing. And it seemed like you were just trying to find trial and error. You were dabbing into certain place. I don't like this.
Yeah.
I'm going to try this. And then you finally found what sticks.
Right.
And
exactly.
And I think some of us, that's a learning lesson with you, is the fact that you're going to have to take different challenges. And you may not like it. It's okay for you to move on.
Right.
Same thing with law school.
Yeah.
I could imagine that's a huge accomplishment to be at the White House, but to seriously, this is not for me.
Right.
And now I want to do something else.
Exactly.
And I'm pretty sure you said some of your family didn't approve of that, but at the end of the day, it's not about what they approve. It's what you approve, and then look at where you're at now.
Exactly.
So that's amazing. So what does it take to own a business?
Yeah. So, let's start with this. I just want to preface it about business because most people have an idea. I think maybe all of us on the call have already thought about, hey, if it was up to me, this is what I would want to do with the rest of my life, or this is the business that I would want. But it's not just about being talented at one trade and you're really good at it, right? Because business is a whole nother animal. You have to be able to be good at a few different things. So the first thing I would tell anyone who's out there that if you've ever thought about being in business, number one is if you're looking for a sign, if you're looking for someone to say, hey, can someone like me who didn't grow up on the right side of the tracks, or I'm too old, I'm too young, I didn't grow up with a dad like yours that was an entrepreneur, any of that, my message to you, you can do it. And what you already have what it takes to do well. All of us have a dream of what we want to do, but the problem, James, is that most people forget their greatness. And you forget the greatness because as a young child, you're kind of programmed by your own parents, their own traumas, right? So anybody that grew up with a trauma or a situation in your childhood, we're grown, intelligent human beings, so we could reprogram ourselves, but why can't we? It's because it was programmed at such a young age. So you start believing there things in you like, well, your parents say money doesn't grow on trees and life is tough and you just have to suck it out and that's not for us, that's for rich people. That's all programming a blueprint about money in you, right?
It's interesting that you say that because I watched his podcast, Value Entertainment. I think his name is Robert Patrick, I believe it is.
Yeah.
So he was telling a story when he was younger that him and his buddy were really into business. They were out there making money, but that his partner's mom was saying, hey, you guys are working too hard. You're working too hard. Yeah. You're going to have a heart attack if you keep on working this hard. But they were being successful.
Right.
But the fact that his mom just kept on just convinced him that if he kept on working this hard, that he was going to have a heart attack, and he stopped. Mm-hmm. And now, I don't know where he's at now, but that this gentleman is super successful now, right, compared to his buddy who is no longer successful, all because of what he was told.
Exactly.
And he was convinced that if I keep on working hard, I'm going to get sick.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so that's the first thing is, you have to believe in your God-given gifts, and you have to know that you have something special and something unique. And I've seen people win in business at all levels from all different backgrounds. So that's why, if I could give you 4 points, 4 points on business is, number one, business is 90% mindset and only 10% skill set. And I'll repeat that, 90% mindset, 10% skill set. Because sometimes you also see people, and I follow Jamie Kern-Lima, who is somebody that I really look up to as well. And she talks about the fact that, people have like a cap, like you might be super, super successful, but why is it that people that make a lot of money are still sad? They're still, depressed, or it's because, they've never really worked out those issues about their self-worth. So you've got to be able to work on your mindset and have, good people around you to start learning and reprogramming all the things that you learned as a kid that are not your truth. It was your parents' truth, but it's not your truth, right? Or your associations.
Right.
Nice. That's
good.
The first thing. Second thing is you got to know your numbers, right? And so by that, what do I mean? I have a friend, he's got a successful business. He's bringing in 7 figures. But it was just like talent, right? It was just massive talent. They went for it and all of that. And he's like, hey, Monica, so how am I doing in terms of saving, investing? And I go, well, what did you keep, right? What did you keep at the end of the year? And there's no such thing as, well, I wrote off this and I wrote off that. And, my business did this much. Of course, we all as business owners have write-offs and we try to keep, all of our accounting in place. But if you don't know your numbers, what's my profit margin? Right? What's my highest and best use of time, right? What's my profit margin on this class versus on this podcast, right? Like, what is my return on investment? You have to know your numbers, right? I don't like when people say, I know you've heard this term, girl math, right?
No, I've never heard girl math.
It drives me crazy when people say girl math.
So what's girl math?
It just drives me crazy. It's basically like saying, well, I am going to spend like $300 on this dress. And so if I have this many uses out of it, then technically I got it for free. Like, I don't like the term. I think it's demeaning to women, but it's also to me like, Well, you're not doing the numbers right. You've got to know your numbers. And to me, the language of money is something essential that we all need to know. We should be teaching this in school.
I agree.
Our kids aren't learning about how money works. So you have to know your numbers in business. So number one is your mindset. Number two, you have to know your numbers. You have to know your P&L. What's my profit and loss, right? What's the best? What return is on my investment am I getting? Number three, you need to do the dirty. What does that mean?
What does that mean? Yes.
The dirty means it's not just having a good business plan. It's not just having a good mindset. You got to get in the trenches and do the work. And that work is the unsexy stuff, right? Getting in there, making the calls, meeting the clients, getting rejected, right? Being up until midnight, sometimes on appointments, and getting organized with your paperwork and all the things that come with it.
Sleepless nights,
right? Getting the employee looked at you wrong, and now there's that issue. Like, there's so many things a business owner has to deal with, but you got to be willing to face it and know that, success is riddled with a bunch of failure. So you have to be willing to just face it head on. And the last point I have for you guys here is associations and mentors. You are the sum of the 5 people you hang out with. So you take your 5 best friends, divide your income, that's how much you make.
Really?
Yeah. Right? So if you have 4 broke friends, you're number 5, right?
I need to start looking at my friends' W-2s. start doing the math.
No, but more than anything, what I mean by that is just, what work are they doing on themselves? Are they uplifting you, right? Are you guys doing the work together? It doesn't mean like, oh, if you're not rich, you can't be my friend.
Right.
It's what are your associations? What's their mindset? What kind of work are they doing on themselves? And who's mentoring you? Because I was blessed to have good mentors, people that didn't look like me. They didn't speak Spanish, but at the end of the day, that they helped reinforce my business acumen, and that's how I was able to do well.
Yeah, it's like that saying, when you're the smartest person in the room or smartest person in the group, you gotta get a new group.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I agree with that. All right, so what are some of the mistakes that you made when you first started your business, and what would you advise someone who's starting up a business on what not to do?
Gosh, I think it's going to be different for everyone because everyone's got different mistakes that you're going to make, right? But in the beginning, I think I
guess what are the most common mistakes in starting a business?
Well, for me, I think if I look at it from a logical perspective, one of the mistakes I see is you try to do the structure first, right? What does that mean? That means like, oh, I want to start a business. So I'm going to start with my LLC and I'm going to get my account and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And you have the whole structure, but there's no business
LLC?
So it's corporations that you set up for your practice, right?
Okay.
So you could either set up an S Corp, a C Corp, an LLC. There's different ways to incorporate your business, right?
Okay.
So what I mean by the structure is, I set up my structure for business. I spent all this money and all the different things, but I open the door, there's no clients. So I think number one is you have to have sales. You have to have, the business coming in. And because you're busting at the seams, okay, well, I quickly need to find a good CPA. I have to find a good, maybe set up an S Corp or do different things, right? So you got to get the business in first, right? Which is like, go for it, right? And just bring in and, go for the business, right?
Right.
The other mistake I think people make is, not getting their team put together early. Right? So when I make money, then I'll get a good CPA. When I make the money, then I'll go find good salespeople or what have you. You have to envision and put the team together.
Prior?
Yeah, and so that, now you're shooting for something, right? Otherwise, you're working backwards. And also it's kind of like a crutch. When you go, when I'm successful, when I make money, then I'll go do those things. You're not really betting on yourself, right?
Right.
So...
But wouldn't you see the difficulty of like, okay, I'm starting a business, I'm trying to build a team, but right now I don't have money to pay for my team.
Right.
I guess that would be like the challenge, right?
So, yeah. I think one of the things that I learned in business early on is the word leverage. And what that means is I think that's what helped me, or that's one of my talents, is I'm very resourceful. and I've been able to build relationships with people. So when I was starting young in business, I would join networking groups, or I knew the people that were successful, and I was just like a fly in the wall, and I would just like take them to lunch. Hey, can I pick your brain? Hey, can I do this? Can I do that? So because I built those friendships, I was able to, kind of like barter and say, hey, I don't have an attorney, but I need to draft a contract, and can you help me with this? Or, yeah, of course, Monica, I'll take them to lunch, right? So there are creative ways that don't require money, where you can start, just building good relationships with people who know people, and then, starting to build your practice that way too.
So it's not what you know, it's who you know, in a sense.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Okay, this is a good question for the ladies right here. Being in a male dominant industry, what challenges did you face in operating a business in such a male dominant industry?
Yeah. I think I have such a passion for helping women in business because culturally, I did grow up still traditionally in that like machismo, male patriarchy, where it was like the guys always got the preference before the girls. Even like my grandpa inherited something to the, male grandkids, not the girl grandkids. So there was always like that thing in me where I had like a chip on my shoulder,
right? Where
I had something to prove. So when I started in business early, one of the things, especially if you're young, and if you're remotely, attractive in any way, you're like, wait a minute, are these people trying to do business with me? Are they just hitting on me? Like you got to go through all those challenges in the beginning to be taken seriously. So I worked extra hard to really become a master at my trade so that I would be taken seriously with big accounts, with big customers, because there was always that piece of it. And then also, to this day, my mentor, who's a woman, we get invited to lunches for top producers in the financial industry. It's mostly men. But once you've put in your work and you know what your worth is, that's what I appreciate about business. That today, corporate America will still underpay women, but in business is the great equalizer. You determine how much money you make based on how much you put into it and what, revenue you bring in. That's all on you. And that's what I love about business is like, yeah, you still get a little bit of, slighted sometimes, and you're not in the good old boys club and all that kind of stuff, but it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, it's what you put in and what your business is bringing in.
So do you feel like women have to put in a little bit more work compared to?
I think it's changed a lot. I mean, I've been in business almost 2 decades. And when I first started, I felt it more. Maybe because I was younger and because of all those different things, but today more women are entrepreneurs.
Yeah, because I was doing some research, and in Forbes magazine, it was saying that 43% of women are own small businesses, and about 14% are Hispanics. So I mean, that's 43%. That's almost half.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine in like 10 years, and plus women are graduating at a higher rate than men are in college. So I feel like right now women are they're moving up the ladder, and I feel like women are accelerating and men are decelerating in certain ways.
Yeah, and women control a lot of the money out there because we make financial decisions. I mean, you look at retail, you look at all these different things, and absolutely women have a huge imprint. That's why politicians are trying to get the female vote too, because there is that strong presence, right? So yeah.
Yeah, because even like in the average household with a married man and wife, like most of the time it's the women that kind of manage the money. They're like the guy, sometimes the man makes the money and the women are the one that distribute, pay what they need to pay off, and so they're money management.
Right.
So in starting up a business, what type of business plan do you need when you start up a business?
Yeah, so you definitely need a business plan. And what do I mean by that? Like, for example, one of my clients was starting out, and she was in interior design. She knows who it is. But we sat down, and she had this idea of what she wanted to do, and I said, what is it going to take? How much investment are you going to need to invest in like the staging furniture that you need, right? And then she had to put a pitch together. and how she was going to approach real estate offices and what her pitch was going to be to bring in the sales, right? Because it's not just about investing in the material. And then she had to find the highest and best use of clients, right? Like who's going to be the highest profit margin for me, which was a little bit trial by error. So your business plan has to be, listen, your business plan is not this generic, huge thing that you give to the bank. Of course, you're going to need that at some point if you're going to get a business loan. But you need to know your numbers, and you need to know, hey, if I make this much per year, or, what are my expenses going to be? What's my profit margin going to be? And it takes a little bit of time to just, ramp that up and project between 1 and 5 years. So you just have to know your numbers, sit with somebody who can coach you on how to do that. And then you've got to be vigilant. You can't just throw it in the drawer. You have to be targeting. This was what my 1 year business plan is. This is what my quarterly business plan is. This is my monthly, and to the week. I mean, we manage every day, every week, for business, and we're tracking. We track everything.
So that was going to be my question, because you said to keep your numbers in order. So if someone is not really a numbers person, what do you recommend for them to do to be more adaptable to the numbers? Is there like certain schooling that you'd recommend, programs?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that you can work with that can, teach you basics. But, today with the internet and social media, there's so many places that you can reference just to learn the basics. You don't have to be a master of it. I mean, once you become so busy in business, you start leveraging certain responsibilities. But, there are so many free trainings online and basic things you can do if you don't have the money to hire somebody right now. But my biggest message to you is take an interest in what you do. If you love your business and what you're trying to promote, you're going to want to know the numbers, right? You don't want to be taken advantage of either if you're not on top of your business.
Got you. So what type of experience do you need in opening up a business?
I didn't have experience when I started in business, and neither did my dad. I mean, it's like, and now it's
a trial, right? It's
yeah.
you kind of learn along the way.
You do. I mean, I don't know that I can answer that in a way that's like, well, you've got to have this many years experience, because quite frankly, we have hit levels of success not because of our experience. Now I think my experience is helping me so much, because my business is on a plane where, it's kind of, I don't want to say coasting, but I know what to expect. I know what to predict. I know what market I want to be in. But when you're brand new, you don't know that. Right? And so you don't have to have experience. You just have to, be willing to learn and have trial and error and, course correct.
And would you say that's why most people hold themselves back from opening up a business, is because they're just, since some people don't have that experience, that knowledge, they have that fear in opening up a business? Because I would say most people are afraid of opening a business because what if it fails?
Yeah.
I would speculate that's certain people's mentalities.
Yeah. I mean, it is a statistic that a lot of businesses fail in the first 5 years, That is an obvious statistic. However...
And why do you think that is?
I just, because there's a difference, in my opinion, between the artistic side of things, which is, I love this, I'm passionate about what I do, and running an actual business. And that's what I talked about earlier when I said the dirty. People don't want to do the stuff that's not attractive. But that's what runs a business, is having structure, right? Having accountability in sales, all the things that make a business successful. You start to learn that, and hopefully you get coaching early enough in your practice to be able to course correct along the way. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, like, this podcast to me is somewhat of a business. But yeah, I'm willing to do that rugged work, that hard work. Get your hands dirty. It feels good though.
Yeah.
Like, it feels good.
The other thing too, that to your point, because I know we talked earlier, I mean, when you start a podcast, when you start any business, everybody gets discouraged early on, right? Like, I hear people say, hey, I tried it. And I go, what does that even mean? What did you try, right? Oh, I gave it a few months. I'm like, oh no, a business, you cannot try a business for a few months. Right? You got to give it time,
What do you think is the optimal time? I know, and I know it depends on the business.
Yeah.
It depends on what it is that you're doing. But at what point would you advise someone, I think you should just pull the plug?
That's the part that I can't advise on that because I don't believe in pulling the plug.
Okay. There you go. Don't pull the plug.
So, my mentors told me you have to have a WIT mentality. WIT, W-I-T, is whatever it takes. And, it's going to be hard. It's going to be rough in the beginning. And you just have to be willing to go for it. And, I've always said this before, but faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. Whether you believe or not, but faith and fear cannot occupy the same space. You can't, I always tell my agents, like, you can't pray to God and say, and then you fail 1 week and go, that's God's sign that I shouldn't do this business. I go, no, you got to pray like it's up to God, but you got to work like it's up to you. And you got to put in the time and the work, and it's not attractive. It's not sexy, but you've got to believe. And that's why the number one thing for most business owners is you got to be so connected to your why. And your why is something that should make you cry. Like if you've ever had an experience in your life where you were on the verge of bankruptcy, or, you were homeless, or, there was something around money that really was like an anchor for you, that should be like your driving force, right? So you're like, I never in my life want to be in that situation again. That's why I'm pushing in my business. Or maybe it's not even like a scarcity thing. Maybe it's like, hey, I want to see my family. I want to be the first one to be profitable, to retire my parents. Whatever that is for you, you got to be so anchored into that why and really put it out to the universe, because that's what's going to keep you going when times are tough.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. So typically, how long does it take for once you start creating your business, you have your business, where you start seeing that revenue come in?
It's going to depend on the business, right? Because, for example, restaurants are notorious for you invest so much, right?
Right. Because isn't it typically like a year? Like you typically
actually
statistic, something like that?
No, most businesses. I mean, it depends, right? Like if you're a real estate agent, you're paying for a real estate, license. You can see your return on investment on your first sale, right?
Right.
But if you have a business like a restaurant and you've invested, $100,000, $250,000 into all kinds of stuff for the business, it may take you 5 years before you see profit. I mean, traditional businesses, 5 years is considered an overnight success when you start to see return on your investment. So it just depends on the business, right? That's why you just have to know your business, do a little research on what the ROI is and what time to expect.
Okay. This would be my last question when it comes to business. What are the type of loans that people should be looking into when they're starting up a business? Because I would speculate a lot of time when it comes to business, you're going to have to purchase on your whatever it is that you're selling, whether it be your equipment, your merchandise, whatever it is. So when someone is going to the bank, proposing their business idea, how does that work?
Yeah, so I'm not a lender, so definitely talk to a lender. But there's different ways to fund businesses, from SBA loans to private equity. People that I've seen people even fund, like, for example, we talked about Smog Shop earlier. I know a guy who funded his Smog business with his 401k. Now, I wouldn't advise that, but he did it that way. So there's so many different ways to fund business. It just depends. Some people put it on credit. I mean, there's no right way to do it, but certainly talk to a lender and figure out what ways to do it. You want to leverage your money for sure, meaning like don't put all your cash in there. You see a lot of businesses that leverage, good debt, meaning, for their practices. So yeah, talk to a lender on that.
Okay, so talk to a lender, guys. Don't
talk to a lender.
Okay, and if you don't mind me asking, so what business are you? You're at your location right now. I'm not sure if you could talk about it, but what do you do right now with this business that we're at right now?
So we're in the financial industry, and we educate people about retirement strategies, saving money, for the future, college planning, all the different things that have to do with finance. And a large part of it is we do coach our agents on entrepreneurship, and that's a big part of our business, is coaching people on how to own, their own practice and being successful in business.
And then you were mentioning before that you certain institutes, you have to come with a big sum of money. Over here, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
So can you kind of just explain a little bit in that, and why is it that you guys are able to do that compared to?
So yeah, I mean, we can delve into it, obviously not too in depth because there's a lot of different ways to advise clients. But yeah, traditional financial industry only focuses on the very wealthy. So you need a certain amount of money to work with somebody. And we've stayed in our industry, in our firm, because we believe in helping everyone, from a single parent to a person in debt, to a wealthy investor, right? There shouldn't be that barrier to learn about how money works. Mm-hmm.
And then, like, what is the common mistake people make, do you think, financially?
Common mistake that people make financially, it just depends on who we're talking about here. But I would just say, I mean, to just keep it basic and to touch as many people as we can here, is just not understanding basic money principles. And you and I talked about this a little bit, but people don't talk to us about how money works. We don't learn it in school. It should be a part of the curriculum,
and
right?
And do you think they don't learn it, not to get like conspiracy or whatever, but like, do you think the reason why school doesn't teach it is because they don't want us to know about money and how to manage money?
No, I don't, I don't think necessarily it's to keep us in the dark. I just think it's, traditional financial advice has been reserved for the very wealthy. And the school system hasn't necessarily sped up, but we are growing. It used to be that very few states in the U.S. required you to have a class in finance, and now I think we're up to 34 states that actually require it. So we are growing as a country.
Is that in high school or
in high school?
In high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I never
we didn't.
Money was never talked about in high school.
Right.
Well. Okay, so now that we kind of got the business aspect, and I hope a lot of you out there really got the information that she was providing us. I know it's a lot. Like right now, my brain is trying to process everything that you were telling us, and thank you so much for just taking the time and give us all this information. It's very, very useful. So let's talk about mentors. You said you had a mentor. Was it just that what was her name?
Sarah.
So was it just Sarah that kind of motivated you and guided you, or did you have multiple, and your dad, but did you have other mentors that really helped you? And how important is having these mentors? Because honestly, like, I could honestly say I don't really have any mentors that coach me financially. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like a lot of us don't have that, so it's a blessing that you have that.
You can get it anywhere. I think the important thing is getting out of your comfort zone and seeking it, right? The moment you say, I want coaching and I want to grow as a human being, is the moment that, the universe puts it in your world in the form of a wrong number. Do you know what I mean? Like it did for me. But my dad, obviously, I look up to him because he's been a very successful businessman.
Because you make me want to just call Cookies places and hope I I could contact someone like Sarah on the other line.
Right. We'll talk later. But I was hungry for it, and I think I was hungry for it. I wanted to be better. I felt like a failure when law school didn't work out. I wanted to do something more with my life, and I wanted to do something that actually helped people, not that hurt them, right? And I wasn't seeing that in the mortgage industry. So Sarah was a blessing because she taught me about, being a woman in business in a male-dominated industry, how to hold yourself, how to, sit at the table and, obviously claim your worth. I also had men who were my mentors. And in an industry that, sometimes it's not going to be a woman who's your mentor. It might be someone who doesn't look like you, who doesn't talk the language that you do. So I was always seeking and getting into different mentors. I would invest a lot of money in the beginning that I didn't even barely had. Like I would make commissions in the mortgage industry and I would put it into self-development programs that were $2,000 or $3,000. And I was like, I needed that to pay my bills. And I decided to invest it to grow my mentality.
And investing on yourself, how did that benefit you? Because that's an important factor. Is I think a lot of us do not invest on ourselves.
Yeah.
We invest on mediocre stuff, materialism stuff, going out, partying, eating, but no one's really investing on themselves.
Yeah. I mean, I was a brand new rookie in the financial business, and I got an office right away, right? So my lease at the time was, I think, $1,100 or $1,500. I was a kid. I was 25. I had braces. I looked like I was 15. No one was taking me seriously, right? But I knew that, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. So something had to give. And my mentor said, for you to grow, you have to invest in yourself. So I would find, self-development programs, whether it was coaching on sales or, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, or different types of things. And I would go invest my money, put the money into the hotel, into the course, into the coaching. And I never knew when it was going to pay out. In fact, at the time, I barely even had the money to do it. But it paid off because my brain started changing. I started hanging out with people in a class that already had money, that already thought about investing in themselves. So your associations start to change, your friendship circle starts to change, and that's where the growth begins.
And then how long did it take you for you to finally, where you seen your investment trying to pay off?
So,
because you're in it for the long term.
Yeah,
you're in the long term, because I think a lot of us are short term seekers.
Yeah,
we want
definitely
quick results.
And everybody wants to know, how long is it going to take?
Yeah, how long is it going to take?
How long is it going to take?
Yeah.
And what I'm going to tell you, it never stops. I'm still investing right now, right? Even though my husband and I have hit certain levels of success, we still have bigger goals, right? We still have other milestones to achieve, so we're still investing. The moment you think you've arrived is the moment you're done, right? And so you
don't
have to
get comfortable.
Don't get comfortable. Growth is a lifelong journey. You have to keep investing in yourself. And then again, you're the smartest person in the room. You're in the wrong room. You got to get into a bigger room, right?
Right. Okay. So you're a big advocate for women business owners. What message would you like to share to these women that are potentially trying to open up a business?
What I would tell you guys, like I said in the beginning, and not only to women, by the way, anybody who right now in your heart, you're like, I just want something bigger in my life. I'm sick of where I'm at. I want to do something better. I'm nervous. I'm scared. You're in the right place, right? In terms of trying to grow. So again, number one, you already have it in you. You already have it in you. Don't let your limiting beliefs and what I call the monkeys in your head that every morning are telling you why you can't win, why you can't do certain things, or you've got your tia's ear in there, or your mom's, or somebody who's saying, just stay in your lane, don't grow. You got to get rid of that, right? And grow on yourself. So number one is your mindset, right? Focus on growing yourself, listen to good podcasts, seek good mentorship. Also get into a class to learn about money. Money to me is a language everyone needs to know, right? I don't care who you are. I'm an artist. You should know money, right? Oh, no, but I don't like math, right? You have to, it's like we're in California. Can you imagine not being able to drive a car here?
Yeah.
You need it, right?
You need it, yeah.
It's a necessity. We're not in an area that has public transportation. So I alluded to, just saying, I'm not good at math, so I'm just going to deflect and not learn. Like me saying, I'm not going to get a driver's license. I'm just going to wing it and pay every single day for Uber. That would be so expensive, right? Not knowing basic financial principles is hurting your success. And I still get people that say, my husband takes care of that. My significant other takes care of that. Even if the woman is the one, you have to know, right? And women outlive their husbands by 15 years, right?
That's a long time. And it's funny because it's the opposite. Because once in a long-term marriage, once the wife passes, the husband's not that far away.
Right.
That's crazy.
So my delivery there is, at some point in your life, especially if you're over 50, you're going to be 100% responsible for your finances. So you need to really understand and, know that it's never too late to learn and get in front of a good mentor to help you with that. Right.
Right. Okay. And then I know she's a business lady, so she's got to go to her next meeting. So I'm going to ask one final question. I'm not sure if I'm going to ask this. Maybe I'm going to repeat myself. But why do you think it's important for Latino community to learn about finances and money management?
Yeah, this one's a big one for me. I am a huge proponent, especially in our Latino community, because So many of our family, our relatives have crossed the border, literally, risking their lives to come to a better country. We did not come here to just work our whole lives and then die.
Right.
And then get a GoFundMe account because we don't even have a life insurance policy to get buried. Right. So, as a community, we still have work to do to create alliances and, really get together and teach about financial money principles so that we can grow our net worth and build wealth. And there's no guilt behind making a lot of money. You can do more for your communities. You can do more for your church. You can do more for everything. And why not? How different would it be, James, if we were educating our kids? Your son is the same age as my daughter. If these kids felt so confident about money that walking into college, they're not graduating with 6 figures of debt, but instead they have money to pay off their first home. Or instead they just have this different walk of confidence because they know how to navigate even when they get into a rough patch around money. So as a community, we do have work to do in our language, in Spanish, to be able to teach people about basic principles and to unite when you don't know about something. Don't lean on skepticism. Well, I'm skeptical of the bank. I'm skeptical of the stock market. I'm skeptical of this. Skepticism will not get us to build wealth, right? Learning, investing, and growing, right, as a community is going to help us to grow together.
And honestly, you being here and informing not only myself but the audience, I can't thank you enough, because these are the things that we all need to fully understand in our culture, in our community, because it's a lot of our family is first generation, mm-hmm. So they're not really familiar with money. Some of these parents can't even read and write,
right? And
they don't teach these kids about money management, how to invest, what to invest in, what to look for, mm-hmm. how to save. So, you coming on this platform and just sharing all this knowledge, I really hope that this information helps at least one person out there to create that business, to go out there, get it. She just gave you the playbook. Now it's time for you to read the playbook and go out there and do it.
Yeah, and feel free to DM us if you have any questions. We're more than happy to, give back and educate you or give you one piece of advice that might be able to help you move forward.
So if someone did want to contact you, where would they contact you at and so forth? So
I'm on Instagram, social media, just my name, Monica Flores Roman, and you can find me there.
All right, guys. Well, any final thoughts that you would like to share to the audience?
Yeah, I just thank you for inviting me.
No, thank you for coming on. Thank you. Like I said, right now I'm just processing everything.
Amazing. Hey guys, listen, money is not that difficult. It can be very simple, but my biggest message to you is really to work on believing in yourself. And sometimes we're not afraid of what if I fail, we're afraid of what if I win. What if I am really super successful? It sounds crazy, but you got to believe in your God-given gifts. You have to know that you've got everything it takes right now to make it happen. Just surround yourself around positive people, put a good business plan together, and you can make it happen.
Well, there you go. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much. You guys got the playbook, but we're gonna go on and get out of here. Again, if they want to reach you, it's gonna be Instagram.
Monica Flores Roman.
There you go. So any financial questions, just DM her and she'll get back to you. But all right, well, we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. You catch us every Friday at 8 a.m. right in the Wave Podcast. Please like, subscribe, share. We'll see you on the next one.
Before we let you go, I do have a gift for you.
Oh.
I have a surprise for you.
Okay, so I close my eyes?
So, our family has a tequila company.
Oh,
right?
Yes.
And of course, we want to talk about all that, but we won't today. But I do have a gift for you.
Oh, nice. Thank you.
This is from our family reserve. So this is your very first
well, you already know what I'm going to do later on tonight. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. All right, guys. We'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.